When I say I was this close, and excuse my nightstand, it's a mess. It's just how it's gonna be. Because if I was gonna go live, it was now or never. Because that time is winding down on my energy. But hey, everybody, happy new moon. I was debating and going back and forth whether I was going live tonight. Your girl is tired, and it's definitely an 8 year. Um, but I'm into keeping promises with myself right now. So here we are, flat but tired. Did some root work last night, then woke up, had a whole day's worth of work, and I'm just tired. But neither here nor there. I'm Jasmine. Welcome to Flourish Homestead and Apothecary. This is our AstroTalk, and it's a solar eclipse. It's a partial solar eclipse, but it's also the new moon in Libra. So I just pressed the live button because either I was going live now or it was going to be like never. And then everything went wrong today. Now, of course, we're in an eclipse portal. I don't know what I thought was supposed to happen with my Capricorn moon head ass. And excuse me, I'm all over the place. So work with me, y'all. I probably should be smudging or drinking water. I'm just trying to tell y'all about my day. Like, y'all probably don't care. Y'all probably don't care. But anyways, it's a miracle to have sat down and pressed this live today with everything that I had to do. It's just really Libra season, and today I spent it doing a lot of negotiations, doing a lot of business contracts, being in a lot of deep and intimate relationships, particularly in the business sphere. All right, but in the meantime, I'm gonna drink some water. I think we are listening to, because it just be playing in the background at this point. What we're listening to is not specific to today. Hold on, my best friend just texted me. Hey, Mia, if you're watching this, love you. But we are listening to 741 hertz. It's just it's a frequency of emotional and spiritual healing. Okay. So let me drink this, and while I'm drinking my water and introducing myself and talking about the apothecary, because it is October and it's National Hoodoo Heritage Month, I just want to take a little bit of time, like this much, to talk about Hoodoo Heritage Month, and then we can jump right into what we have to talk about, which is astrology. Right? My best friend just told me she loved me. Anyways, that just gave me all the energy I needed to honestly do this, because I was just like, where's this energy gonna come from? Oh, I'm gonna leave that right there. Okay, let me get comfortable. So we're gonna jump right into it. Y'all know I came with the lesson plans and everything else. So I'm gonna be looking down, and as things come to me intuitively, especially since we have a frequency in the hertz plan, it'll cause me to say some things in reaction to the lesson plan that I prepared for today. And so what I first wanted to say is just happy Hoodoo Heritage Month to people who are of the Black American section of the African diaspora. I just wanted to say, dang, happy Hoodoo Heritage Month to us. And look what we doing. And let me just start with a short overview. So, hoodoo is what we, in modern terms, is what we call the portion of the African traditional religion that is Ifa, Yoruba, Santorini, but it's the Black American portion, and we call it hoodoo. Back in the day, it really didn't have a name because it was masked in with Christianity, right? And with Southern Baptist Christianity, with Kojic Christianity. And so you might have heard things like root worker or laying hands, right? Or the Holy Ghost, or letting the music move through you, right? Which is another form of the Holy Ghost. But all of these things is root working, or it is hoodoo, right? And again, it is a part of the African traditional religions, such as Ifa or Yoruba religions, Fulani, Dahomey, fawn, Wolof. These are cultures, right? These are cultures that gave rise to the people that came to the South of America, particularly in the Carolinas and in Georgia and in certain parts of Virginia. That gave rise to what we would call the Gullah Geechee culture that was the bedrock or the foundation for the Black American experience here in the United States. And because we brought our religion, our culture, our philosophy, and our way of life with us, like everywhere else Black people went to when we came to the New World, right? We brought our culture, we brought our sense of selves with us, and it is manifested into a diasporic religious tradition that is very rich. And it just so happens that the month of October is the month that we celebrate here in the Black American diaspora, our roots, our ancestry, our culture, our ancestors, and our connection that we have to this land, to Turtle Island, to this earth, to using what we have to remain connected with what we know to be the greater African and First Nation indigenous people religious experience or spiritual experience that took place here on earth. And I guess that's a segue for us to just better understand what is Flourish Homestead and Apothecary. So Flourish Homestead and Apothecary is a 100% Black woman owned artisanal small batch company that is rooted in African and indigenous traditions. These African and indigenous traditions, I'm getting tongue tied, is linked to decolonizing, baby, and making sure that we live in our own culture, in our own identity, in our own rights as the first people of this earth. There's just no other way around it, right? And so what we do here at Flourish is we come into community like right now, and we learn about astrology and we learn about energy, because I'm a herbalist or a root worker, but I also move energy. So that would be a person that we would call in the hoodoo tradition sometimes a conjurer, or a person who can move energy or work with the elements. And I am a person who does all of those things, because at the end of the day, I believe that everything is energetic, everything is spiritual, everything is mental. Everything is a vibration. Everything is a frequency, including the celestial bodies that guide us. And that's what makes me an astro herbalist. And we are steeped in our traditions of living a fully present life, not engaging, not rushing past the present moment, not living in that Libra balance, because it is a partial solar eclipse and it's a new moon in Libra, right? And so these are all the things that we're coming back on. And y'all been seeing me. I've been trying to get it together for months, because behind the scenes in the apothecary, we're bringing some new things online. I'm knee deep in herbalism school and my career outside of the healing work that I do here. And there's just so many changes and transitions that are going on. We have family members that permanently have come back home. It just the ebb and flow of life, and it been an 8 year, has truly taken place. And so with that said, thank you so much for letting us be regrounded and recentering to getting back on track. And one of the things that we do here in the homestead and the apothecary is we talk astrology, baby. We talk about how to use the energy, because we have auras, and our auras are electromagnetic field. And that electromagnetic field, it be having conversations with the general skies, with the celestial bodies that are in the skies, because they are huge, right? And no matter how we try to fight it, we can never overcome physics or the first law of thermodynamics. The energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. So whatever Saturn, Pluto, the moon, Earth itself, the sun has going on, it impacts us because their energy literally touches us because that's how big they are. And so that's why we study astrology, because we can understand how to work with this energy. And astrology is so specific, it can teach you, if you have your birth time, how to work with that energy for yourself, and even the specific areas that we go in, right? And so we come together once a month and we just reground ourselves in that knowing of being fully present, of having a rich emotional life, having a deep connection with source, be in deep reverence and veneration to God, to higher power, to your Ori, to your higher self, to your ancestors, to source, creator, and spiritual energies and the forces of nature, like the Orisha, that we venerate here, right? And so I just wanted to say all that, for whatever is worth. And now we're about to jump into the astrology, and I do want to keep it light-ish, because I want to give y'all information to work on it, but I am also running low on energy. So yeah, I just want to set the expectations. But the current astrology is right now, the sun is at 10 degrees and 16 minutes of Libra, and it's in the 6th house. And yesterday we experienced solar flares that were so big. And when I say solar flares, it's not just fireballs, it's plasma. And plasma is like if Earth and water and fire had a baby. Like, that's the best way I can describe this plasma that is really like the sun's surface that makes these flares. But the flare was so big, it was one that I guess hasn't happened like to this magnitude since we've measured the Earth, or measured solar flares, since 1976. This has an energetic impact on us because this energy hit the Earth. And when it hit the Earth, it caused our Schumann's resonance, or the frequency or vibration of the Earth, to kind of morph and change, right? And because time and energy and all these things at the end of the day are spiritual and thus metaphysical, all of these things impacted one another, right? So what I'm really trying to say is we had a lot of energy from the sun that impacted this new moon. And this new moon, because it was also going to be an eclipse where the earth, the moon, and the sun lined up, but it blocked the moon's sunlight from reaching the earth, right? And therefore, the moon is caught in the earth's shadow. It is creating a lot of like tension, this new moon. And that's what I'm trying to lay out for you before I lay out the rest of the astrology. Okay. And then the moon is also in Libra at 12 degrees and 29 minutes, right? That is where it is currently, or as of about an hour ago. When the moon went direct today, at 2:49 p.m. Eastern time, like it is here in Ohio, it was at 10 degrees and 4 minutes. And it's also in Libra, also in the 6th house. Stick with me on this part because everything I'm saying right here is important. Then Mercury is also in Libra at 11 degrees and 54 minutes of Libra. It is also in the 6th house. Venus is in Scorpio, and that is in 12 degrees and 12 minutes. And it's also in the 6th house, but it's right on the cusp between the 6th and the 7th house. We have Mars in Cancer at 15 degrees of Cancer and 53 minutes. It's in the 3rd house. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. There's a lot of water energy this new moon. So if you're feeling very emotional, like the emotionality that kind of happens during full moons, it's okay because we have a lot of retrograde energy in Pisces in its overall moon energy, which governs our emotions. So, and it's an eclipse, which is a portal. It's a portal of time. It's a time flip or a time dimension. And so when you know all of this, this is what is really influencing this moon, and that's why I want you to follow along literally with what I'm saying. And I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, because I know that astrology can be very complicated, and I want you to follow along, and that's why we're here on YouTube, so you can pause and kind of process, or walk away, or take your notes, or do whatever it is that you need to do. Okay. So Uranus is in Taurus, and it's been in Taurus for a long time, and it's also retrograde at 26 degrees and 51 minutes of Taurus. Neptune is retrograde in Pisces along with Saturn, and Neptune is at 28 degrees and 11 minutes of Pisces, and it is in the 11th house along with Saturn. Pluto is in Capricorn at the last degree. It is strangling us. Period. But the good news is Pluto is going to go direct soon. It's at 29 degrees and 40 minutes, and it's also retrograde. And then we have Chiron in Aries, and that's deeply, deeply impacting this new moon. At 21 degrees and 45 minutes, it is also retrograde. We have the North Node in Aries at 6 minutes and 39 degrees, or at 6 degrees and 39 minutes. Sorry, y'all. And it's also retrograde. And Chiron and the South Node are in the 11th, 12th house cusp. So Chiron is definitely in the 12th house, but the North Node is kind of caught on the cusp line, because the nodes are getting ready to change in January. So they're really moving more angularly toward the new node switch that's about to happen in January. And so therefore the North Node and the South Node are kind of caught in between two houses. And the North Node is caught between the 11th and the 12th house. So just wanted to throw that out there. Okay. We got all those technicalities out the way for the people who are really into the degrees and the house systems. So they're doing their own astrology and understanding how that impacts y'all. But for everybody else, we're about to walk through everything I just said, which are the technical components of this energy, right? And so what we really, really need to know is that there is a lot of energy in the 6th house, right? And then there is a lot of energy that's happening in Libra. So the sun, the moon, Mercury, the South Node are all in Libra, deeply impacting the 6th house. And then we have a bunch of things in retrograde. So you have Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, Chiron, the South Node, and the North Node, and Saturn that's retrograde. Okay. And then you have Mercury, or not Mercury, but you have Venus that just moved into Scorpio, that's really intensifying this time and really making this eclipse feel more intense than it should. And so all of this is, like I said, making us feel very, very emotional. Now, this is a new moon, and like I said, it took place or went direct. So that's when all of the energy that I just talked about, it happened at 2:49 p.m. to be exact. And again, this took place in the 6th house. So Libra, or the sun, and all of these things are currently transiting through Libra constellation that is currently transiting through the 6th house, right? And the 6th house is ruled by Virgo, and Virgo energy. So it rules over routines, work, service, your habits, everything. So it's just like your whole life feel like it's up for review right now. Who you spend time with, how they treat you, how that contributes to your routine and your energy levels. All of that is impacting us right now. Okay. And then this new moon is also deeply impacting all cardinal signs. If you got any cardinal in your chart like I do, because I'm a Capricorn moon and I got so much Capricorn in my chart, you stressed. I'm stressed. I'm just stressed, y'all. Like that cat, and it's in delicate degrees for me because it's in the second decade of a cardinal degree, and my natal is in the second decade, so I'm tired and I'm stressed. But anyways, because this new moon was taking place at 10 degrees and 4 minutes of Libra, it's affecting people between 5 degrees and 15 degrees of cardinal signs. And there are 3 cardinal signs, and that is Cancer, Aries, and what we're talking about right now, or Capricorn, my bad. Capricorn, duh. And also Libra, my bad, because it's the fall, right? And that's what it represents. So some of the astrology for everybody who can't hang around really quickly, if you're into the aspects of astrology that you just need to know about, is that Mars and Saturn are trining, right? So again, Saturn is retrograde in Pisces, and Mars is in Cancer. In the 3rd house, and Saturn is in the 11th house. And so because of the odd numbering, they are trining or having a pleasant conversation with one another. Saturn in retrograde in Pisces just represents like a self-review, deep shadow work of spirituality, 12th house things, delusion, oneness. I'm hoping everybody is getting this. All these things that I'm talking about are for people who understand astrology, who can't stick around for most of the video as requested. So I just wanted to get all of this out the way, and then I'm going to walk everybody who wants to stick around through how we're going to work with this energy, okay? And then Venus, right, is having a little bit of a conversation with Mars and Saturn, because all of them are in water signs right now. So when they're in a water sign, it's also like a trining sort of situation, because all of them are in the same element. And so, like I said, this is adding to that emotional impact of the moon, is that we're having so much intense retrograde self-review energy in water signs. And water signs, like I said, governs our emotions, it governs fluidity, and this is a major moment in the moon cycle. This is a new moon when the moon's energy is at its lowest. And so this can make right now just feel very drudgy. There's just no other way around it. And all of this, the moon is also like squaring Mars right now. And so a squaring is a tense conversation. Like, it's kind of like a tense conversation, or there's some conflict that needs to be worked out and balanced, right? And so the moon being in Libra, and this solar eclipse energy, and all of these things also being in Libra in the 6th house, is all squaring Mars. And like I said, Mars is in Cancer right now, and Mars is fully debilitated in Cancer. It is like the least likely space it wants to be. It doesn't like being in water. It doesn't like being slowed down. It might like the cardinal energy, but it cannot sustain its energy for a long time. So overall, you could feel like your motivation is kind of down right now. And with the equinox changing and the sunlight getting shorter, you could just feel like, time is slowing down. Okay, so now that we talked about all of that, we can walk into what the actual astrology is for the people who need to be walked through it. Okay, so the moon at an astronomical level is just a satellite that's caught in the gravitational earth field of the earth, right? And this helps balance the wobble of earth, because we're on axis. Like, we don't sit straight. So as we're rotating, and then we're rotating like around the what is that called, the sun, I'm sorry y'all, we have a wobble. So the moon being there actually causes a balance of the weather and the stabilization. And that's why I just talked about the equinox, or just becoming fall, because we just had a major stabilizing moment. Because all the equinox is when the day is as long as night. And so we're all feeling that impact right now, because the moon impacts that wobble and it impacts that axis, but we're also like between 70 and 80% water, right? And so because of that, it also controls the gravitational field of water and its ebb and flow, and it controls the ebb and flow in us. So astrologically, which is the spiritual, energetic, or the metaphysical meaning of the moon. Historically, we have known the moon in indigenous and African cultures to control our emotions, the unseen. It controls the feminine, the nurturing, or the mothering energy, and it spends about 2 days in each sign, and it literally controls like our inner world, or who we are when we feel the most comfortable. Now we're in a new moon, right? And so a new moon is like the first phase of the lunar cycle. So the lunar cycle has 4 major phases. And the first phase is the new moon, right? And the new moon is simply when the moon is pointed between the earth and the sun. So the moon's dark side is facing us. So what does all of this mean? This basically means that the moon is caught in between the earth's and the sun's shadow while the dark side of the moon is facing us, right? And so that's all that means. From an astrological perspective, a new moon is just when the sun and the moon are in the same zodiac sign instead of an opposite or opposition zodiac sign, right? So that's what that typically means, right? Historically, a new moon is a time that you set your intentions, you recommit to your intentions. A new moon is a time that you begin to journal, to plan, to better understand, to reconnect with what is your current plan. And I would say that it is for, I don't want to make this fall, call the seen or the unseen into the seen. What does that mean? Okay. That means basically you use this time to create plans. After the full moon, you've basically figured out, okay, well, this is what went well, this is what didn't go well, because I'm at the half point of the lunation cycle. Now you've completed the lunation cycle, you're beginning anew, so you're reflecting on what went well, what didn't go well, and that summation that you've had from the last quarter moon, right? But you're also creating new plans or recommitting to old plans. Or your current plans, right? And so that's what we're currently or should currently be doing. But this is an eclipse, and we're in an eclipse portal, and this is the last eclipse of the year. And in eclipses, you just have to like ride it out. One of the things you should know from a spiritual perspective is that like you're not in control during eclipses. Eclipses are realigning us and rebalancing everything that's happening in this solar system on Earth. For everything to be in its original frequency. And so, in order to get it to its original frequency, it's going to adjust your life to get you back on your own individualized path, because each of us have life's purposes or things that are so emanated to set out to do. And so, during times of eclipses and during eclipse portals, what we have to recognize is it's really just a time of deep reflection and deeply surrendering and deeply letting go. And when it's in something like Libra, it's also a time to practice self-grace and cooperation and self-harmony with yourself, as you're recognizing that truly the universe, ancestors, something in the unseen is stepping up to the plate right now for the collective and correcting overall energy. And it's happening in Libra, and everybody want to make Libra seem all whimsical and stuff. And even me, like I got pink candles on the altar right now, couldn't wait. But we often forget that Libra governs justice, and even though it governs beauty and refinement and sometimes love, right? It is also about balancing the scales. It's about making everything come to pass. And so during this eclipse, this is really just a time to let go. This is really just a time to surrender. So during this new moon, right now, immediately until after we get out this portal, it really just wouldn't be the appropriate time to set intentions historically. Ooh, y'all, I forgot to plug in the computer. And I'm asking myself, do I want to get up? Let me go and get up and plug in this computer. I'll be right back, y'all. Okay, plugging in the computer. I am so sleepy, y'all. And I'm slowing down actively on camera. It took me so long to get that charger. It took me so long. Okay. I'm getting back coordinated, getting back in the zone. Okay. And so I just wanted to really explain that. In the last video, I talked about what an eclipse is overall. It's just when the sun, the moon, and earth line up and it blocks the sunlight for a certain amount of time. Okay. And so all that is happening in Libra energy because partial solar eclipse can only happen during new moons. Overall, solar eclipse can only happen during new moons. And so we are talking about a lot of Libra energy right now. Libra energy is cardinal air energy. It's ruled by Venus. It rules the seventh house, which is the house of partnerships or relationships. And it is ruled with the phrase of the motto, I balance. Because like I said, it's about harmony. It's about equity. It's about justice, but like on an intimate level, like interpersonal skills, right? Some of the key words of Libra. So these are the things that's supposed to remind you of Libra energy. Get that water, girl. Ooh. And you see how I am drudging through this. That is how hard this energy is. So I don't want you to feel bad for feeling tired because you see me in real time. I am struggling, but I'm getting through this because it's about y'all, but it's also about me. And at the end of the day, I'm a Capricorn moon and the day got to end. And what we said we was going to do is what we was going to do. That's really the phase of life I'm in right now. And it does matter how I feel because I am practicing slow living, but I am consistently making sure that I'm outside of my comfort zone right now. And so that's why I'm working through this. You see me, I'm taking my time. Computer wasn't picked up. It took me till damn near 10 o'clock to get on, even though I'm supposed to be on at 9:30. Life is here and life be lifing, and we're going to get back to it. But this is why, because this energy is so thick and it's so deep, and the south node is really kicking ass and shining bright right now. And then nobody talking about the south node, and that's the real reason I wanted to step in and really like chirp in the astrology streets, because why ain't nobody talking about the south node? But we're going to get there because that's what this moon is all about. And I'm really trying not to cuss that much, but I have a potty mouth when I want to. Anyways, the key words that's supposed to remind you of the Libra energy is diplomacy, balance, justice, and partnership. Functional expressions are balanced, impartial, gracious, refined, artistic, relationally oriented, and charming. When we talk about functional expressions are higher energy level perspective. So heart chakra on up, right? And then when we're talking about dysfunctional expressions, we're typically talking about restricted and or lower chakra, more sensory energy, right? And that is indecisiveness, being insecure, pleasure seeking, people pleasing, passive or passive aggressive, codependency, co-enmeshment, subtle control, and subtle manipulation. And that's what that south node has been about, subtle manipulation. So just wanted to throw that out there and talk about that because everybody always want to talk about the cutesy part of Libra. There is an uncutesy part of Libra. That's what this season is all about, and that's what this season has been about consistently as the underpinning of all this fucking energy since 2023 when the nodes switched into the Aries Libra axis with the South Node being in Libra. Okay, so we was gonna talk about the Libra constellation, but listen, it's old as hell. Methuselah, the oldest star is in Libra. The brightest star is Beta Libra. It's old. It's old. Shout out to Methuselah. Because she's kicking scientists' asses right now. But that's all you really need to know. And all you would really need to know is that originally, yeah, we thought that the Earth was, or the universe was like 13.6 billion years old. But because of Methuselah being like at least 16.8 billion years old, it's really kicking scientists' ass right now to explain why there's like a few billion-year-old star. um, um, that exists in Libra. So it's all you need to know. I try to ground you in the reality that the Libra constellation, the collective of stars, is a real place. It's 85 stars. And like I said, the oldest star in our known universe that we know is there, right? But in astrology, what it governs or what Libra rules over is balance, but not at a collective level, like collective humanitarianism, like human rights. It governs over the interpersonal skills, right? It's the interpersonal awareness after you have mastered self-awareness and self-discernment, right? And awareness of who you are and your boundaries because you master Virgo. It's about mastering other. But in order to master other, you have to start at very intimate and interpersonal relationships. Okay, so like I said, it governs intimate relationships, not just romance, but harmony, balance, equality, fairness. It also like the matter of the law and bank accounts. Just trust me, bank accounts. Very, very Libra energy. Getting in the flow and personality of money, where money likes to be kept, is definitely in Libra energy. Libra energy is cardinal. So cardinal is the beginning of the season. So the day that Libra season began was also the fall equinox. So fall season began and Libra season began. So it's an initiator of energy, right? It's the starter of energy. So that's what is called a cardinal sign. And it is considered a masculine sign, even though it is ruled by Venus, that is feminine. And we talk about love and different things that Venus governs, it is actually a masculine sign, right? And so that's why I be telling people, like, okay, Venus rules love, but like naturally equating love to Libra, not saying that masculine energy doesn't understand love, cannot process love, but it's more about justice, equality, harmony, cooperation in the law and contracts and negotiation and grace and agreements and compromise. That's what Libra represents. And love is very emotional. Love is very sensual and spiritual at the same time. And so love would be more so governed, in my opinion, by Cancer or Taurus in the zodiac, not necessarily Libra. And it's really important we make those distinctions because, like I said, today I spent a lot of my time with all this Libra energy, being in deeply intimate negotiations, building intimate relationship, but it was in business, but also being in intimate relationship with the people that I live with. And that is the energy of this time period, right? So I just wanted to over emphasize that, right? Because during this time period, when the sun is in Libra and then you have the new moon in Libra, it's really highlighting that section of interpersonal skills and how we do in intimate and one-to-one relationships. But because it's on the Libra Aries axis, it's also about where are your boundaries again, so you don't lose yourself, because Libra governs people pleasing, co-enmeshment, subtle manipulation, people pleasing, fawning. And I'm not saying any of those things to evoke emotional responses, right? What I'm saying are things that are factually true. These are what Libra governs. And then it's dysfunction or restricted energy where it cannot be itself, right? It will come out in these ways. It will manifest. The pressure that it causes will manifest. And this is the energy that will come of it here on earth. And so it's important that we kind of understand that, right? Because Libra's true energy is just teaching us empathy. It's just teaching us about being a mirror, interpersonal skills, how people are a mirror and they represent reflecting back to you something, right? Whatever that something is, and how to govern that something at all times. Because even though this person is a mirror, even though this intimacy is a mirror, right? It still exists a person with their own story, their own identity. And in order for us to get to collective energy, we have to understand how to be in one-to-one relationships, how to have empathy, which is how to step into another person's shoes, but also how to view ourselves from that person's perspective, which is compromise and grace and humility, but not necessarily humanity, right? Well, I guess it can be humanity because it's empathy. And so it teaches us the power of like having a tribe. It teaches us the power of compassion, of grace, compromise, negotiation, fairness, balance, that eventually leads to the peace that everybody loves Libra for, right? And so it's about how we refine ourselves when we're constantly in mirrors. And your most intimate relationships will always be mirrors for you. All of your relationships are mirrors for you in some aspect. But definitely your intimate relationships. And again, we always in this culture equate intimacy with like just romantic. But again, Libra covers business partnerships, the certain portions like matters of the law. So when we talk about matters of the law, we talk about what actually quantifies as a law or not. So those are like a lot of complicated questions that are built on being in agreement, being in community with one another from a micro to a macro level, right? But also Libra governs like your known enemies, like the people you know that don't fuck with you. And again, Libra is in the South, or the South Node is in Libra, right? And the South Node is naturally a restriction of energy. So when a restriction of energy is happening in Libra, and then we're having all of this energy in Libra right now, but the moon is also at its lowest place, and it's also an eclipse. So a time of transformation and change that is outside of our control, right? Astro D said it best that Leo, or not Leo, but Libra basically represents the equilibrium of spirit, physical, and mental space, because it's balancing, right? And so that's why I don't want us to get caught up in thinking that like it's like Libra's energy is all about love. And I think we get this because Libra's energy is seventh house and it governs partnerships. And a lot of people think about partnerships, think about marriage, but there's many different types of partnerships. There's business partnerships, there's cooperations, there's corporations, there's negotiations, there's agreements. And then, like I said, Libra also governs divorce, just like it governs marriage. It governs known enemies, lawsuits, and it governs de-escalation into war. And war is governed by Pisces. But you see how all of these things and all of these energies kind of help you better understand what Libra represents, right? Like at a feelings level, okay? And so Libra exists on the axis. Every one of the zodiac signs has a sister sign. And the axis that it exists on is the axis of self versus the versus other. And the axis of self is Aries, the first house, right? And all of the first 7 houses is about a self experience, right? And so are the first 7 zodiac signs. But then once you make it to Libra, it is about you've mastered yourself in Virgo, right? And now we're talking about the other experience. How do people understand you? How do you understand other people? And it typically happens with the people you are in deep community with, the people that you see every day. And the people that you see every day are the people that you live with. Those are intimate relationships, your close friendships, not just your romantic partner, your children, your business partners, or the people that you go to work with every day. Those are that. And like I said, it governs so many things, even to some extent. I don't want to say parasocial relationships, but just network. So that's the energy that is in tension during this time period. But because most of the energy is imbalanced in Libra, is asking us to take a step back from self, right? Which is when the last eclipse happened. So the last eclipse happened in Aries 6 months ago. And that asked us, go hard on yourself. Do not compromise on other. And this is asking us 6 months later, because it is another eclipse. Well, how did you do? Right? Did you focus on yourself for those 6 months? Because now it's time to focus more interpersonally on other, and your interaction with other, and your empathy and the empathy of other people towards you, right? During this time period. So how are you with your interpersonal skills? And that makes a lot of sense as we're coming up on being in community with people we have deeply intimate relationships, as it's about to be. We're in the middle of harvest season. Harvest season always leads to celebrations toward the end of the year, and just a time for us to come together and be in more community. So it's that reminder during this time period, well, how are you in community? Because maybe for the past 6 months you've been doing your own thing, and that's fair, and that's what the first 6 months of 2024 were all about. Or I guess the last 6 months were all about. It wasn't, it was all of 2024, but it was from March. So now it's asking us to spend the next 6 months until Aries season reflecting when this axis comes up again. Okay. And so, really, what this axis is talking about is the balancing of relationships and the emphasis on focusing on quality and not quantity of relationships, and making sure that you, yes, still have a strong sense of yourself, because we do have an Aries full moon that's coming up in 2 weeks to close out this energy of this eclipse. So, this eclipse, basically, the portal lasts 2 weeks. And so, the post shadow will be ending around the full moon. Which will be in Aries. And so that'll be closing out this eclipse energy for the rest of 2024. And then the nodes will change in January, and then eclipse season will begin again in 2025. But the reason why this is so important is asking you again, for the next 2 weeks, focus on your interpersonal skills. This doesn't mean that you have to be social. It just means focus on your interpersonal skills. Do a review of who you're in deep community with, who you're in partnership, who you're in agreement with. How are those negotiations? Are those negotiations in alignment? And North Node in Aries, well, where you see that you're going. And so, because we still have to make space for the North Node and Chiron being in Aries, which is still telling us, even though it might be time, or we're coming up on the time to be in community, it still is a time to be aware of your boundaries, because Libra definitely governs people pleasing. There's just no other way around it. And then people pleasing can lead to covert manipulation, right? And or covert abuse, and sometimes covert narcissism, which is governed and deeply comes up when a Libra is in the South Node. Okay. And so, like I said, the last eclipse took place on, I think, was it March 20th? No, it was March 29th of 2020. No, when was it? It was March something. March 20th. 2024 is when the complete eclipse happened. And we're supposed to take that energy and focus on ourselves. Now, Libra is all about the interpersonal, right? And what I really wanted to bring up is that, again, we've been in this energy with Libra being in the South Node since April 20th, 2023. And so we really need to see what the wisdom is, because this energy will be switching soon. And when this energy switches, what we really, really, really need to understand is that so many things can come up, and so many things I know for the past year, which is hence why I haven't been online, will come up around what I talked about last year on Instagram, which is like covert narcissism and so many other things that really come to play. And so what I've been saying to people for the past year is like, everybody thinks that Libra governs the cutesy part of relationships. No, Libra governs the business of relationships. There's just no other way around it. The nuts and the bolts, what are the contracts, what are the agreement, and what happens when you're out of balance and out of alignment and out of it. And so many of us, because we live in a transactional culture, are seeing that we are in imbalanced relationships. And again, Libra governs everything from codependency, co-enmeshment, right, to covert narcissism, like at an energetic or a spiritual level. And so a lot of times we have been seeing a lot of people who've been making decisions about who will be a part of their lives, or the ethics or the values, right? Uranus still being in Taurus, creating those new foundations for when Pluto goes into Aquarius for the next 20 years, right? And we're moving toward that age of Aquarius energy. And so when you kind of think about all the collective energy that's going on, Libra won't feel very lovesy this year. Libra will feel very balancing, very justice filled. There won't be no love. There might even be retribution. And because of all the energy we know that's been going on, it will be about like, know where you stand, know where your lane is, know who and what stands with you, and be clear about those negotiations and those contracts that you have with people. And we mean in friendships, yes, romantic partnerships, family relationships, business partnerships. And really, Aries, North Node and Aries, Chiron and Aries is saying, don't let nobody get you off your mark. And you really have to continue to always understand that while this energy is here. Don't let nobody get you off your mark. That is what this energy will be about until 2025. And so everything that's subtly been taking place with relationships and the crumbling of relationships, that is meant to happen. And right now it's at a crescendo point because we have so much energy in Libra right now that's enhancing what's happening with the South Node, which is saying what won't stick, won't stick. There will be an energetic balancing of relationships. Who and what is not is meant for you. And either you make the decision and you transform and move that energy. Because also remember, Black Moon Lilith is in Libra too, and I think it's in similar degrees. So do you really just want that energy to just come up and say, I have to do what I have to do to make space for relationships at the energetic level, because we're holding on to things and people and situations in ways of knowing that really have nothing to do with where you're going. And so now's that time period, as we're thinking about interpersonal relationships, to think about what equilibrium, what justice looks like for you. Is to think about what you owe people and what people owe you. Because we always want to forget about that when we being air quote righteous, right? But mostly it's about self-balancing, Capricorn being in those last degrees. We're living through so many things. We don't have to talk about that. We're probably here to really get away from the noise of what's happening out fucking side. And I get it. I'm right there with you. But we really just need to understand that this ain't about love, baby. This is about business. And it's about the business of spirituality, especially with so much shit, including Neptune and Saturn, being in retrograde in Pisces. And with it being about the business of spirituality, and we're creating new foundations because Uranus is still in Taurus and Jupiter is in Gemini, and Scorpio is in, or Venus is in Scorpio, and then we have everything in its mama in Libra right now. It's not going to feel cutesy. It's going to feel analytical. It's going to feel very emotional. It's going to feel very messy. It's going to feel very sensual, but still detached, because Libra is air energy. So we're not really going to get the outcomes we want. So it's better to stay on our own path, because the things that are conducive to creating new intimate partnerships really aren't at that place right now of saying it can hold together. Now, this doesn't say if you have new relationships or new beginnings or a new job or new contracts or new business partners, they're not going to work out. What I am saying is that you have to go at the speed of community, and you have to go at the speed of interpersonal relationships, and you have to be very delicate and give a lot of grace and give a lot of compromise. And I definitely learned that lesson in so many ways today, because I very much so had to be in my Libra energy, and it was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be given this lesson plan. I didn't want to be doing no business. I didn't want to be thinking about none of that. I wanted to be in my cutesy girl energy. I told you I got pink candles on the altar. I wasn't trying to think about nothing in negotiations. And this energy reminded me, no, that's what this time period is really all about. What you're doing. Don't give into the delusion. Don't give into the cutesy. You are cutesy, but don't be delusional with all this energy in Pisces. And so that's just what I wanted to relay, right? And let me see. Other than that, I just don't think there is anything else that really needs to be said. We talked about the astrology of it. It was kind of choppy. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting back on track. And so I just wanted to say all of that. Okay. What I would do if I were y'all, and you getting back into Libra energy, you want to know how to work with it. Last time we made full moon water, and that was transformation water. This week, or this 2 weeks later, since that transformation water has set with my ancestors for 2 weeks, because I practice ancestor veneration, now I'm going to infuse it with the herbs from that eclipse during this eclipse portal energy also. So that is what I will be doing. But what you should be doing is journaling. What you should be doing is reflecting, right? Period. You should be journaling. You should be reflecting. You should be practicing ancestral veneration. Ancestral veneration is anything, like I said, it's Hutu Heritage Month. Um, People like me who are root workers, different things like that, we work with the energy. But for real, a lot of balancing energy might be getting out of hustle culture right now. A lot of balancing energy might be taking a nap, because we just got out of the Pisces Virgo axis, and that's a real tenuous axis, and that was just 2 weeks ago. And nobody got no sleep. Nobody is getting any sleep because of that damn solar flare, because it's the new moon, because it was an eclipse. So the sun, the moon, and the earth were lined up, right? And because the Schumann's resonance, or the earth's frequency, went high. And I know for the past year, we felt like there's been a lot of breakdown in relationships, and it has been. And keep in mind, all this is happening in the 6th house, which is governed by Virgo, which makes this energy feel very strenuous and very tenuous. So right now, rest, soak, love on yourself, sit at your altars, and just take your time. if you are going to be a person who wants to work with correspondence of Libra, because there is a lot of Libra energy, I'm not going to lie, right? I'm going to give you some things to focus on, but I don't want this to be the focus of your work, if you know what I'm saying. So, hold on one second. I am trying to. Okay. Okay. So I'll tell y'all some things that we can do really, really quickly if you're going to work with it. But my suggestion is just to rest and do ancestral veneration and to journal during this time period. But if you feel like you want to do something, it does govern like the kidneys, the urinary tract, that, but your hormones, your endocrine system, and also the lower lumbar region of your back, and it governs your posture. So if you do energy work on yourself, those are the things that you can pray over or move energy through. So just wanted to talk about that. Also some of the herbs that you can use. Damiana is really good right now. I use Damiana all the time. I talk about it all the time. It's a nervine. It's a relaxing nerve. It just really helps to calm you down. And it really helps to, it's an adaptogen also. So it just really helps to soothe and calm down the nerves. Violet is beautiful right now. It might be hard to find violets, like particularly right now. But it is what we would call Libra guardian herb. So a guardian herb is, and so is Damiana. A guardian herb is something you want to do to keep Libra energy. So if you feel like you're actually at a good place with Libra energy, these are the herbs that you can use. Rose. I've been killing rose right now. I think I got on patchouli, rose, and amber right now. You can use thyme. You can use yarrow. You can use passion flower. Ooh, I'm struggling. Ooh. So passion flower I do use all the time. If I didn't just move all of my herbs, my passion flower would literally be right here, but neither here nor there. Passion flower is another one that is good for your nerves, it's good for nervous energy. So it's a guardian herb. But if you're in the releasing phase of Libra, because I'm in a releasing phase of a lot of Libra energy. Some of the things that you can work with are nettle and burdock, and again, they work with your kidney. So if you work with nettle and burdock, my best thing is to make a tea for it. But it is a diuretic; it will cause you to go to the bathroom. Mullein is a great time to do mullein, especially for the people who smoke anything, do any inhalants. If you're going to do something, do mullein. And you can use mullein as a tea for people who have respiratory issues, like asthma, allergies, different things like that. Mullein, it can be really, 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 really good for that. And I also use mullein all the time as a tea. I use mullein in the morning, and I'll sometimes use oat straw in the morning right now. Ashwagandha is the baby. I talk about ashwagandha all the time. I love ashwagandha. I'm currently using the ashwagandha glycerin. And again, calms down the nerves, is a nervine, is an adaptogen, much like passion flower, and everything else. Some of the crystals that you can use right now is rose quartz. And one of the herbs you can also use is chicory. I also had chicory tea today, and because I didn't realize it was part of the ragweed family, I had an allergic reaction because I'm severely allergic to ragweeds. Like there's like 34 of them. And chicory, I'm not the most allergic to, but I'm definitely like allergic enough. And I didn't even understand that. Yeah. But anyways, I'm reflecting because that's what happened today. That also might be why I'm kind of out of it, because like I had an allergic reaction to chicory today. just processing that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And it was so funny because I ordered chicory tea or chicory coffee because, of course, coffee beans. Bad for people like me, highly sensitive people. So yeah. What did I do? What have I been working with? Creolin cinnamon, green aventurine. I've been working a lot with that. Eucalyptus per usual, clove per usual. Been working with a lot of protective herbs lately, so been doing a lot of root work with mace. I know y'all don't use mace unless you really know how to use it. Black pepper, turmeric, red pepper, stuff like that. Yeah. All right, y'all. So yeah, that's what I would just say. Use rose quartz. And rebalance and hyper focus on self love, and different things like that. And we already talked about, like some of the energy that you can use, kind of just talking about the planet that rules it. So Venus, and here in the collective, we venerate Oshun. And so just understanding and better understanding Oshun's energy, but understand that Oshun don't play about her self-love, her self-worth, her nothing. So thinking that this is just real, keeping it cutesy perfume, thinking that self-care is superficial, and you don't have to do the shadow work, because sometimes the shadow work is taking a step back. Sometimes shadow work is establishing boundaries. Sometimes shadow work is cutting people off. And that's also self-care and self-love. But more than anything, right now, it's a time period of self-worth. And I feel like that's why a lot of people are transitioning relationships right now, because they're not equitable, they're not equal, and they don't represent the totality of self-worth that a lot of people are now being forced to get. And that's not a coincidence. It's literally because that's what's happening with the energy right now, y'all. All right, well, that's all I have to give. I am tired. This was a struggle. No way around it. Didn't even use my notes. Hope this made sense. Have a good night, y'all. Ugh.